Been nearly 5 months since I made my last agent tier list, but enough has changed. Obviously, we got the Clove and Yoru nerfs, which were pretty substantial and changed their rankings. Both were very dominant in the meta. We got a new agent mix, and of course, they've mixed up the map pool. So there's enough to go over. I don't think there's any F tier agents, so we're going to start at D and work our way up. And I'm not going to lie, like usual, it's a little bit of a yapathon, but I give my genuine thoughts. I talk to some high-ranking players, and I am still focusing on solo duo queue, but I have more insight as I 5-stacked a lot recently, so it's going to be interesting. Lastly, even though it can hurt retention on this video, I will put timestamps as well as the full list at the end because I just want you guys to enjoy it and find some value. Starting with the D tier, all of you guys saw this one coming, but Harbor is in the D tier. I don't know, bro. Riot is trying. Like, they did the rework. Actually, you know what? They're not trying. Took forever to do the rework, then they didn't buff him. Why am I saying they're trying? Like, low-key, Riot, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call you out here. I'm sorry, not really sorry, because some of your balancing and decision-making has been abysmal, and I'm gonna call him out. I'm gonna call him out quite a few times in this video. And again, I've actually sent this list to a couple like Immortals and stuff, got some feedback, and I'm pretty confident on it, especially the solo duo focus here. And Harbor ain't it, bro. They need to substantially buff him and figure out how to make wall-based smokes more viable. And you're obviously going to know what I'm talking about in just a second, because another wall-based agent is in the D tier. Absolutely. And I'm not gonna lie, I think Harbor really needs to, like, for example, you know his wall that you can control? Keep that, make it slow the enemy substantially more, like double the slow and increase the amount of time it's slowed so they don't push that shit. Make your team not get slowed. Damn, right there. Bam, right away, right off of the bat. That's already going to make him substantially stronger. Cove is fine. It's pretty unique. You can make some pretty good playmaking potentials. I would leave that as you buff the long range wall. Then the other wall, that's now his ult where it gets pushed and can be stopped and blinds people. I don't know, bro. I would say put that back on a normal ability and just make the size of it smaller, make the blind shorter, but keep it there and give him back his old ult that lets people flush out of sight, and bada bing, bada boom, Harbor will be like A tier. Just make him extremely strong for a bit. Let my guy get the sunshine, understand what's making him super strong, and then tune from there. They need to shoot for the stars and then reel it in, because trying to slowly buff him or change him has not worked at all. Plus, by the way, I know everything I said would make him probably too powerful, but I think you get the idea. Like, a lot needs to happen for him. Man, some of you guys are going to be triggered for some of the agents coming in D tier, but you know what else is triggering? Lagging in Valorant, and I want to tell you about a really good tool to fix that lag. This lag sucks. Dude, why do I have 71 ping, dude? They always ruin it with the new seasons, man. Every time there's a new act, I just can't play. Wait a minute. No, Raze, listen. If Raze would listen to me, I'd be able to tell him about the best tool to reduce your ping. And that tool is Gear Up. It is time for you guys to reduce your ping. When the servers get crowded, it can cause some issues, and those issues are about to vanish. I'm going to quickly boot up Valorant and show you that I have 60 plus ping right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close that game, download Gear Up, click Valorant, allow it to auto boost. It'll do everything on its own. I will launch Valorant through the client. Bada bing, bada boom. My ping is slashed in half, and the gameplay is very obviously improved. And if ping reduction wasn't enough, it has cross-region play. So if you want to go over to the EU, sometimes you can reduce your MS by 70 to 100 MS, making it easy to connect with friends worldwide, and anti-packet laws. So it is time to stabilize that gameplay by making sure to use Gear Up. And in case you're afraid, they have an excellent Trustpilot score, so you can use them worry-free. Thanks to Gear Up for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to use that link down below. Alright, welcome back. Let's get to the tier list. Next up, we got Viper. You guys saw this coming. Now, this is a general list. I'm sorry to be a broken record. Pros do not matter, and maps do matter in the real world. They matter even if you're gold or iron or bronze, but I do try to focus mid to low high ranks for this tier list. Solo duo, so the biggest general population I can get. You know what I mean? That's how I net this tier list. And I'm gonna be honest, I think Viper is quite literally D across the board, but you could say she's like C, maybe touches B, not really, for Breeze, but that's very specific. I think in general, like if you're just gonna play a couple agents consistently throughout multiple maps as the season change, whatever, Viper is just not there, you know, and she has a lot of the same issues as Harbor. She is better than Harbor, at least the smokes are a little scarier to push, and she has a little bit more going on overall. So she's better than Harbor, but has a lot of the same major flaws, and Riot nerfed her to the ground and never clawed their way back up with her, so she needs some buffs as well. Next up, we got KO. Inherently, he's not like so bad that he needs major buffs, but it's just that all the other agents punch above their weight class, especially in his category. And I think, you know, he was supposed to be that thing where like if you're just an FPS player, he's a simple kit. And he still is a simple kit overall, and he still accomplishes that goal, but he might need like a little bit of tuning. I'm not entirely sure where to tune him. I think his flash is great, you know, shout out to Toto. Like his flash is fantastic, and you can do some pretty good setups. I wouldn't change the flash at all. Maybe some buffs around his, you know, I don't know. Bro, pull a Fortnite or something, like when he gets downed, he can crawl. I'm kind of memeing, but I do think he needs a little bit of buffs. I'm not gonna lie, he's a little too basic, and he isn't super impactful in the general hands. Again, shout out to someone like Toto. If you main any of these agents, even Harbor, like you can do some sneaky plays. You can make it work. You can make it work no matter what. And I'm in that category now as a Yoru main. We'll get to that. But still, overall, for the general player, solo duo, climbing the ranks, he's not my first pick. And, you know, luckily most people agreed with that. Next, we got Veto, or Vito, or Veto, whatever you want to call him. I'm not going to lie. Bro, when he came out, I thought he was going to be more impactful. And like, let's say you're playing him on Lotus. He's pretty strong, dude. He's pretty strong on Lotus. So again, map specifics can shift this tier list. But in general, if you're just a Veto main, he is pretty bad. Like it is hard to find a lot of value out of him. You can try to time when that orb goes up, but still, it's so easy to shoot. The noise is so loud. I haven't had like basically anything get disrupted very, very rarely. His trip is okay, but not as impactful as other trips in the game. Pretty much the most fun thing about him is you pop that ult, you get that heal consistently, you pop off kind of like mini Reyna, and that is enjoyable. I think that's fine. But they need to change up. I don't even think they need to tune it. Like, I think they need to change up. Like, maybe that orb can get auto-triggered the first ability that comes out. So, like, the first ability that comes out, it'll always turn on and snap that ability. Then it makes noise for other abilities. You know what I mean? Because think about it. You put down, like, a Cypher trip. It stays static. You can clear it out with one piece of util, then break it. Something like that would be more impactful. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have to like manually activate it and waste it so easily, because it can already be broken. It can already make a lot of noise. So like that small change maybe can bump him, but they got to do something. Next up, it's kind of weird how these are a lot of new agents that sort of just fell through the cracks. But Tejo, he was strong for a while, but they had to nerf what made him strong, and he really never recovered. I don't find Tejo strong like at all. Like at all. I find him like so underwhelming. I don't feel like I'm ever flinching against the Tejo. Same thing with Veto. Like he needs buffs again, and I can't even tell you how or where to buff him, because if they buff the rocket placement is what made him so unique, right? Like you're opening that controller, it gets your ults, you've got those missiles, and it's what makes him so unique, like so unique. And I don't know if they need to change it so it can do some other debuff but not damage, you know, because there was that whole issue with it breaking the enemy killjoy ult, or they increase damage on players, reduce damage on util. They can do it that way. They got to do something though. Maybe I don't know. They got to do something. He's not like, he's on the edge of deer. What the heck? He's on the edge of D, not deer. Jeez, I'm so tired. He's on the edge of D and can slip into C with just some minor changes. You know what I mean? Like he has potential. Like I like his kit as a base. It's very interesting. Just need to tune it a bit. Just gotta need to tune it a bit, because it definitely feels underwhelming and underpowered the way it is at the moment. Okie dokie, time to enter the C tier, and we're starting with a banger. Whew, deep breath, guys, deep breath. My beloved Yoru. Oh my goodness, dude. Last time I made a tier list, he was like A or something, and plenty of people's tier lists just a month ago, he was S. And now he's in C. I've seen it in some other tier lists post-update in C, like deadass C, unless it's like bind or something very specific, of course. Same as any other agent. And his win rate is like the 4th worst now. Like, it's so bad. When we say overtuned nerf, he's quite literally the definition. And I think when we say bad balancing philosophy, he's also the definition. It was because he had like 100% pick rate in like pro play or whatever. Bro, straight up F pro play, dude. I know I'm not in the minority, but like Valorant isn't just pro play. It is disgusting. The balance philosophy around Yoru because of pro play is horrible. How, like, listen, 1 in 10 Valorant players or something are gold. Average player. They don't even watch pro play. And you're going to look them in the eye and basically say, yeah, you can't play Yoru. He's way too weak. And you're going to have him throw ranked games because of pro play. That's the balancing philosophy here. But without going on a tangent and being a little bit more objective instead, obviously Yoru's nerf, removing a flash and halfening the TP, would have brought him down regardless. I think if they left the flash and halfened his TP, he would already go from AS to like BA minus, like 100%, because halfening the TP makes him way less safe and way less strong on rotates, especially on big maps, and that's really a lot of his power. They could have left him a B plus A minus agent by just keeping the 2 flash. By removing half his flashes, by removing one of them completely, they bumped him way down to the bottom, and he is literally just straight up pretty much the worst duelist. He is the worst duelist. Every other duelist is better than him. He's the only duelist in C tier, little spoiler alert. Every other duelist is ranked above him now. So they just threw him at the bottom and stomped on him, and I think I don't gotta talk much because I've already made videos about nerfed Yoru, and even people who hate Yoru or aren't Yoru mains realize how bad it is. And I think that's enough, because when you hate an agent and you already don't want to deal with them, like when they nerfed all his util through alt, a lot of people were happy, even if some people were conflicted, and they made him a drone alt. They kind of doubled down here, and to the point where people already hate him are going, yikes. So let's keep it simple. You can get creative with Yoru. If you're a one-trick like me, I am still winning ranked games with Yoru, MVPing with Yoru. Like any other agent on this tier list, keep in mind, they are not unplayable. I will give Riot one thing. No one is unplayable. It's just underwhelming or overwhelming, and then the middle. And Yoru is now towards underwhelming, not at the very bottom. Duelist still holds strong spots, but he's now towards underwhelming from being pretty balanced and a bit overwhelming, but they could have fixed it without overtuning. You know, they could have done it. They could have done it. But anyways, Ohek and 7 to Yoru. Let's move on. Next up, we got Cypher. Cypher, I don't gotta say too much. He received a ton of nerfs that did push him into 2 weak territory. If anything, I'll give him the same thing as the Yoru treatment. He went from overwhelming, like where he's actually really annoying to push, and I know a lot of Cypher mains would be like, but he's not annoying to... He was very annoying to push, but they overtuned it, like getting the notification that a camera is looking at you is insane. Like that I already think is insane. It already made noise, and if you get pinged, you could usually follow it. I think they pushed it too far. And then his trips, the way they function on being able to spray through and kill someone, I will actually say there are still some trips that are strong enough to stop a push. And I don't fully agree with getting tripped and then sprayed through a smoke consistently, because he is self-smoking. You know what I mean? If he didn't have smokes and he had to call for it, then that's a little bit more fair, being able to spray when you catch someone. But having self-smokes and a ton of pings to be able to like Odin spam and stuff, I would say that's a frustrating mechanic. Now, what Riot needs to learn to do is nerf frustration, but give power back where it makes sense. So they could have, you know, removed, let's say, the notification when you have the camera. You know, you don't want to remove people's power fantasy. That's something that's important, that makes Valorant unique as a, you know, 8 hero shooter to some extent, like that, hero tactical shooter. So I do think they should buff Cypher, even if in different ways. I wouldn't just revert the trip, because that's something called a frustrating mechanic, like old Yoru, right? Like flashing, then coming out of vault, then shotgunning. That's a frustrating mechanic, and those need to be addressed, but they need to learn to replace the power that's been taken away with something that's less frustrating but fair. And that's how you know, avoid agents going into the underwhelming territory. And right now, Cypher is a little bit underwhelming. He's supposed to lock down sites. I don't think he can do that all on his own very well. Again, if you're a Cypher main, you've got your little tricks. I know you can be an annoying little rat, and I trust you can. But still, as a general agent, compared to others, underwhelming. Next up, we have Astra. Now, Astra is actually an agent I like having on my team. I've grown to actually love Astra because I've been playing in 5 stacks where I have someone who's like an Astra main or mains Astra a lot, and he's proven that Astra can be incredibly useful. But I always knew that, and if anyone ever watched any of my old videos and you're an Astra main, you'll probably remember my biggest gripe is that Astra isn't just overcomplicated, not in a bad way, not in a bad way. It's fun having complicated agents, but overcomplicated, and like Yoru used to be considered a little overcomplicated, but overcomplicated, and you need to rely on your team. It's that double-edged sword that can make Astra a little inconsistent. When I'm playing in a 5-stack, having a great Astra, oh my goodness. Like, I wouldn't put Astra in C if this was a tier list based off 5 stacks. But unlike Riot, I don't like making my videos about, you know, a niche topic. Like, Pro is still top 0.1%. 5 stacks are more frequent, but not as frequent as solo duo across the low, mid to light high ranks, which is why I try to focus my tier list for the average Valorant player. And for the average Valorant player, as an Astra main, you can find value, you can get creative, you can have fun, and you can climb. Again, this tier list is not to take away from you playing any specific agent, but to acknowledge the fact that Astra on your own or only with a duo can be very difficult. You can already mess up your util, there's a lot going on, and then you don't have your entire team playing around it, and it becomes a little bit of a yikes. It 100% becomes a little bit of a yikes. Actually, we had a 5-stack, we were all a little tired, we weren't playing very well together, and he was Astra, and still found less fun and enjoyment than when we're playing at peak performance and are all communicating. Even a trio can make Astra work. But at the moment, if you're solo duoing, I find her underwhelming overall, even though I actually like the agent. I like the agent. I want more creative agents, but it doesn't change some of the facts. So the last agent in C tier is Breach, and I know it's funny timing because Fracture is finally back, and I will fully acknowledge, just like I have been, you know? Yes, Breach is very good on Fracture. I'm not going to just say no. I'm not stupid. I understand. He is strong on Fracture. And anyone on this list, if you already know how to play them and you want them on specific maps, you're like, oh, but if it's Fracture, I know how to play Breach, so I'm picking him up. Go ahead. You are beating the game in some sense, right? You're being smarter than the average player. You're playing based off map with knowledge. That is fine. And that's 100% what will make someone climb the ranks over time if they fine-tune their game knowledge, game sense, and decision making, and that's all part of decision making. But as a blanket statement, Breach does need his team. You know he has amazing util to set up his team. Amazing. I love his util for executes, the range it has for his stun. Rolling Thunder is still one of the best for initiating on a site, better than like what they gave Mix, and Mix is still Mix is higher on this tier list than Breach, but Breach's ult's better than Mix, right? But it takes more than just the ult. The blinds are fantastic, the stuns are fantastic, and all I'm doing is hyping him up. But it is hard to play selfishly for yourself with Breach. You can flash and then peek, but a lot of other agents can do that better and more efficiently and less dodgeable. His flashes are just way too dodgeable in general. So you usually need to be playing with your team. You go the stun, the flash, you can isolate sections, but your team needs to be flooding what you're isolating and pinching for it to all come together. So on your own or with a duo, he's still not useless. D tier is great, but you know there's better. You know there's better. As we enter the B tier, let's start with a duelist, which would be ISO. ISO is a solid pick, and I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the B tier in general, it's a little bit of a fun tier because they aren't really leaning overwhelming, and they're definitely not leaning underwhelming. They're very solid agents. Anyone here you choose across the board is enjoyable, balanced, and you can pretty stably climb the ranks without too much. You know, it's like the agent won't be the problem is what I'm trying to say here, which is fantastic. 100% fantastic. So we enter the B tier with ISO, and it just makes sense. If you're a duelist main and you want to shoot, you got a lot of the power that you do from, let's say, someone like Reyna, but the snowball effect can be a little bit more consistent because you can snowball your shields, but you can still isolate with your ult. You can always use it in a 2v1 to completely secure a round, which isn't a terrible idea. There's a lot of other things you can do, right? You can set up for your team or for yourself with ISO's debuff, which is fantastic, and the shield, same idea. You can be selfish, you can kind of scale up with shotguns if you're on eco or close range weapons. You can use it to bait because, you know, they can't clear it until the wall has passed. You can use it to push with your team. I don't know, it's pretty good. He is a solid agent. None of it's so overwhelming, right? Like everything I'm saying is options and super cool and super fun, but none of it's overwhelming to the point that you're just like, it's unfair to the enemy team or they will get pissed off. And I know some people here will be like, they're like, oh, ISO shield. Fine, but overall, he's a balanced agent, a fun agent, a solid pick. And yeah, I mean, I like ISO. Next up, we got Brim. Brim is in my opinion, boring. I've said it in every tier list. I don't mean to. If you've got a couple lineups, that's great. His Molly is a great slow. It does a ton of damage. It is substantial in blocking off an area or, post plant. His smokes are strong, they last a long time, and they have proven over and over again, as you know, with like Mix's launch and how Clove was strong, the basic circular smokes that you can just place down is the strongest. Like 100%, it's proven over and over is the strongest and best way to use smokes in Valorant, and Brim is one of them. His stim is great for team player, fast rotates, and his ult is simple, right? You want to control an area, you want to get some kills, you want to play post plant. He's simple to use, and simple to use is what brings him up, because he's simple and effective, and that consistency helps him. In my opinion, like if any of these weren't that simple, he would be like C tier, because then other agents would start outmatching it. But in any other power that comes from other agents, Brim can claw it back with simplicity, and simplicity just means consistency. Less likely to mess anything up, and it'd be unfair to oversight that. You know what I mean? It'd be completely unfair. Like, between you and I, if I'm playing Yoru, which is just an agent where you can mess something up, you can mess something up and lose a round, and then that could be the reason you lose the game, or just do it a couple times. And that's less likely to happen with agents like Brim, and that does help increase the rank. I think it sounds stupid in theory, but for all of us average players who aren't perfect, who aren't robots, anything that helps consistency has value. In my opinion, it has genuine value. Next up, we have Vyse, and I want to immediately jump the gun here. I had discussions with other people, and Vyse is a little decisive. A lot of people want Vyse in C. I was already contemplating before talking to anyone else, C or B. So Vyse is B with a little bit like contingency, because the only thing is, like, if they just either gave back the info gathering with the flash or made it where it can't be broken but you don't get the info, like they kind of doubled there. If they just reverted one of them, it'd be a solid B, I think, on its own, just because Vyse's retake or initiation with the ult is solid, it is consistent, it's easy to use, and then Vyse's wall and traps make her good. In general, that wall is unique, and it does its job in isolating. It does its job, especially when you're doubling up on a site to stop a push or get a pick, and all that is very valuable. So I don't want to just completely throw Vyse in the dirt, but I would say the flash nerf hurt her enough where a lot of people think she's C, and that's the biggest decisive thing. So I'm telling you, if Riot reverts one thing, either make it so it's not breakable or make it so it's still breakable, but it can gather some info, so if used well, they are rewarded for it, then it'd just be a solid B. That's it. It wouldn't be overpowered. She wouldn't be overtuned. Maybe could sneak into A, but that's a big maybe. So I think they should revert one of them, but otherwise, Vyse in teetering BC makes sense, and I will take other people's opinion to heart and leave it there. And let me make it clear, I understand why people say what they do because of Deadlock, the next agent. Like, Deadlock is in B, but I do think Deadlock is in general a better choice over Vyse. It just makes sense. Like, Deadlock is a pretty strong agent. I love her ability to get picks with the ult, so you do need to practice it though. Consistency, right? Like, Vyse's ult in an area is going to consistently control that area. Deadlock, you can whiff, right? Consistency does matter. That's why Vyse claws back a little, but Deadlock in general, the ult is good. The wall is amazing. I like how you can still take the gunfights. It makes it very unique. Deadlock's wall is still unique. It is still huge since the buff long ago, and they never touched it again. Her trips still remain a weak point and will probably hold her back from being overwhelming, which is fine. That's what balancing is, some give and take. The trips are pretty weak. You need to, like, the trips find value on smart positioning, spikes, so when you defuse it makes the noise, or drops are areas where they're more likely to make noise. You need to position them smart, because in general, very basic trips like you'd use on Cypher or Chamber that hold your flank can just be avoided a little too easy, and it just, it loses value. You loses value. Like, wasting a trip just to still get flanked is lame, and that's what can happen a lot with Deadlock. So you gotta play around that, but otherwise a solid agent overall, and honestly pretty consistently good across maps. I mean, I know Breeze, Breeze is not, Breeze, you're gonna have trouble finding some utility, but still, that net is always good, and across most maps, Deadlock can find pretty good value. Following this, we have Reyna. Reyna consistently always lands in B in every single one of my tier lists forever. She actually got nerfed, where the heal's on a timer, which actually nerfs her a lot. Part of me really wanted to put her C or D, but I still understand that she has a position where you can look someone dead in the eye who's a gold, plat, silver player and says it's always my team's fault, and say, you know what, if you're really that much better, if your aim is 2 ranks above where you deserve, you can insta-lock Reyna and you can snowball. And I understand that value, and it's the only reason she's held in B. Reyna is the only agent on this list where she's not like underwhelming, overwhelming, or balanced. She's so situational that I can never place her in the right spot. She is overwhelming in the right hands, where she can still snowball and she can still hard carry, and you know, you still report that Reyna for smurfing, and that is all true. We all experiencing it. It's like, it's such so universal that it trumps the list here. Like, no matter what, you know what I mean? It just has to. It has to. But then if you're just, your aim isn't there, she's like D tier. You're just not finding value. That flash is not a good flash in the game compared to other flashes, and that's all you got. The rest you need to get kills. So it's super weird. The most underwhelming to the most overwhelming agent is just Reyna. It's just all exists on one agent, based on one player, based on how they're performing. So B is right in the middle, and that's why she's here, even though I kind of have her in her own niche category. Unlike Reyna though, our next agent, Fade, is consistently good. Not overwhelming, not underwhelming, but man oh man, rarely a bad pick. Fade consistently can find value. If you can get some lineups, that's great, but I also like how Fade's eye can be thrown pretty easily because of the way it drops. You can do a lot of running lineups based off of like the sound barrier on the minimap, which is fantastic. The dogs clear a wide range. The ult not only flushes, but you can also get those lines, so you can chase or cut off depending, like just information. The fact you get information, that's what I'm trying to say. So you got the information, but you've got the space control mixed in with the dog, and I don't know, good solid agent. And then you got the tether, and the tether in solo duo, especially the duo leaning duo, you can utilize it. You don't need a 5-stack, but if you just got one other player with you, or even if you're solo but you've got at least decent comms, you can utilize that to help your team control space or get kills. Like, you know, obviously Raze nade, or a combination of a lot. It doesn't have to be a Raze nade. You can literally just be a Jett with dash ready who is gonna swing, and the tether will throw people off. Like, it's a pretty strong agent, but not overwhelming by any means, like not overpowered, but a solid pick consistently. So W Fade. W Fade. The next 2 agents are pretty similar to how I yapped about Fade. So first one's going to be Sova, just kind of like rarely a bad pick. Like, you can find pretty good value on Sova. I actually like Fade more, but you can find good value on Sova consistently. You've got the drone, which is, it's going to help lead stuff up. You can get info. You've got the dart, it's going to find info. You've got the shocks to flush based off of that info to control space. You got the ult for post plant. I actually find Sova's ult the weakest. Like, I barely die to a Sova ult, but still it'll kick people off a plant. Even when you're pinged, it's just kind of easy to dodge now. People have adapted to it, but it doesn't mean it can't control. And I will only say the one big tip is just to use it with your team. So I'm going to ult someone, not when you guys are still rushing in, but when you have space. So when you're ulting them and they have to dodge or run, your team can take that space, right? Or even get those kills for you, or help secure those kills. That's like the only little tune that I feel is needed, that a lot of Sovas miss. And with that alone, solid choice all around. You can consistently play Sova and consistently find value. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. And I said the next 2 agents. This is the second one, which is Sage. I think Sage finds value pretty consistently. The wall buff actually made Sage. Like, the wall and ult buff, like the whole range stuff. Not gonna lie, really good. Really good. I find that made her way more usable. You can bait or res in a lot better positions, which is fantastic. The res is still a player back, which is, you know, since the start of the game, has value. Let's be real here. The slows are solid. While not the best way to stop a push, a consistently good way to stop a push. The wall can be crucial. Again, I don't like to specify maps, but we know, you know, split mid, that wall consistently changes how split is played. But I would say that wall, unlike other agents, even though it can be map dependent, it has enough creativity, let's say like Grim Walls or creating your own cubbies, to a point where Sage can like still change how something's gonna flow with the slow and the wall. And that wall is so unique to her because of the way it can be placed and how it has to be broken, that she's always gonna be like a pretty solid pick. She was falling behind for a while, like in C tier. She never really hit D. She was falling behind for a while, but it goes to show just some slight tunes can bring her into balance. If they want her any stronger, they can tune her heal a little bit, considering now now Skye and Mix are going to be played more and they have stronger heals, but it's somewhat optional if they just wanted to go from B to A tier. They can buff her heal, but otherwise not super needed. She's a pretty solid pick and a pretty balanced agent. Next up, we got the A tier, and the A tier, always amazing. A tier is the ones that can lead overwhelming, but they're not just straight up like super meta defining, if that makes sense. They are a cut above B, consistently better, consistently more played for the most part, and consistently can find better value and can be overwhelming 100% without being into the S tier category. So starting us off with the A tier, we've got Jett. Jett is very, very, very good at consistently taking space. You know, obviously the dash smoke is something I think I've talked about every single tier list, as well as the op dash. So those two alone that can be crutched on with Jett means you can be taking space consistently and means you can be holding space consistently at off angles, which makes her strong. Like, those are two things that make her strong, but then there's a knock-on effect because the updraft talking about ways you can play, places you can be, the self-smoke to escape or change your position consistently, and the way you can move around on Jett is very unique to Jett and consistently strong at taking space, overheating, or falling back. I don't think I gotta over-explain Jett, because all that without to say, if you get really good at the knives, you've got pretty consistent eco, which allows you to save for that op, or of course play back, buy for your team, play knives. Like, Jett just has that value. Like, it's cool, you know what I mean? Jett has the knives, which are selfish, but because of the eco play, it can be played to help your team still. You know what I mean? The initiation can feel selfish, but it's not. You're taking space for your team. It's that cool double-edged sword towards the positive that makes Jett quite unique and pretty clearly A without having to say much. Funny enough, in her own way, Raze very similarly comes up next in the A tier. I tried to play Raze. I am so down bad at Raze, but let's be honest, Raze can find an incredible amount of value, different type of movement from Jett, and honestly harder than Jett. So I put Jett above just because of consistency. Like, I would take Jett first, but Raze, assuming you can get good at the satchels, which is kind of critical, because if you don't get good at the satchels, you are missing that duelist taking space potential. So I just gotta say that, like, just less consistent, because you gotta get good at the satchels, in my opinion. You really do. But outside of that, nading off areas to take control, nading off cubbies, or being able to scale by nading backside, but then coming around on the other side, that's all, you know, that's all taking space, and that's what you got to be doing as a duelist, and Raze does do it consistently, just with a little bit more skill needed. You've got the ult, which I actually, you know, I don't think the ult is overtuned at all. I think it's perfectly balanced, but because of the other things making Raze good, it's just the fact it's balanced doesn't bring her down. Boombot, same idea. It's all about taking space, all about taking control. You just do it in a different way than you do with other duelists. And again, I don't feel I have to overstate why Raze is just a consistently solid pick. Like, yeah, if you're going to play Raze on Breeze, you're going to struggle. Maps always need to be accounted for. And I do remind you guys often through this video that maps have to be accounted for, but I don't want it to determine an entire agent's identity. That's my only rule. Next up, we got Gekko. I've always been a Gekko glazer. They nerfed him pretty hard, but they did bring back some of his power, and Gekko is good. Like, Gekko is just consistently a good pick that can lean overwhelming, because, like, little bro planting and defusing the spike already changes the way a team can scale and retake a site, like, alone. Like, that alone will bump him up, obviously. But then we got Thrash, which is great at taking space and getting info that can then be repicked up. So you can always do first half info to take space, and purposely, instead of stunning the enemy, bring it back as your team scales, because, you know, the enemies are focused on Thrash. Go pick it up and then play post plant. Like, that's pretty good. Like, that alone is pretty good. But then we've got Mosh for post plant or taking space or slowing down. And then we got the blind, which can be shot 100%. I know it's not super hard to shoot, but you know what's crazy is it's a blind you can't look away from. You can quite literally throw it above or behind the enemy, which is, you know, in a lot of cases that mean you messed up the flash, or the enemy was playing close so that they'd only be partially flashed. But with Gekko, they don't care. If you throw it high or it goes behind them, it's still gonna full flash them and hit them. It's gonna goo them. It's gonna goo them, okay? The fact that you can goo them puts them in A tier. Enough said. On a serious note, Gekko's great. Gekko's genuinely great. And now we low-key kind of get his twin. Mix, the latest agent in Valorant, is landing on A tier. Bro, a lot of people said he's going to be weak, and then I saw a few tier lists putting him on A, and then I'm finding other people now agree with me. Like, I am glad being a little bit right here. Mix is a strong agent. He is not overwhelming, but like low-key, if his ult was stronger, like significantly stronger, he would be an S. 100%, and I'm glad to be right. You can shoot his stuff, sure, but in the heat of the battle, you're using it selfishly to heal you and your team. It is insane how much heal and the AoE of it, and the fact you get 2 of it. Of course, you can still stun and take space, but it's used in an aggressive manner so that if they have to shoot it, you're swinging where their crosshair is going to be looking the wrong way, or they're going to be stunned, and you got to use it through the wall, right? You need to use it so like if you're fighting someone who's behind the wall, you can throw it at the edge of the wall and then swing, and they're gonna have to move away from the wall, and again you're displacing people, and the fact you're displacing people is not bad, so that alone is good. Then you've got the stim that can be refreshed and cycled. I would say it's a little bit like, I don't even want to say it's like solo duo oriented, like it has to be duo only, because you can literally just be stimming the person who's doing the best, the person who's consistently getting those kills, and then you will now get that buff. Like, you can kind of ride the top frag or ride someone who's being consistent, and there always is someone in that game for the most part, not always, but for the most part, there's usually a top frag, someone doing the best, and you can ride alongside them with that. I will say though, his ult is the only reason that you got to reel him in, to the point where even in A, some people argue, because yes, his ult is expensive. His ult's very hard to use. I barely feel threatened by his ult. You can hold good angles. I usually just call it for my team, like up, down with me right here. No one move. Focus on the crossfires. It doesn't matter. I'm slowed, but I'm still perfectly accurate. If they just make the enemies inaccurate, like it's more like of a stun, that's it. Like, he would be not 100, only 100% A, but he would teeter on S, because last but not least is his smokes that last longer than Clove, can be placed. We already know, tried and true, consistency wins, and Mix has that consistency. Consistency stimming, consistently healing, consistently smoking. Those 3 that you're using throughout the round the most are all consistent, and they do them well. So, I don't know. I think he's a solid pick. I genuinely think he's going to be leaning overwhelming. If I'm wrong, worst case, he'll slowly glide down to B as the meta shifts. But no way he's a bad agent. I will stand my ground there. Probably won't have to fight you guys hard on this one. Skye enters the A tier, and I'll keep it very, very simple, okay? Skye was always B tier, even post nerfs, and all they did was make that flash rechargeable. More flashes. That's one of the strongest things on Skye. A very versatile and usable flash for your team or for yourself, which is amazing. I love Skye flashes. I used to play Skye a lot, and I'm going to pick her back up now after these buffs. That alone pretty much should prove my case, but of course, the ult, the flushing, the info, the chasing, you can use it to secure around when you've got numbers. You can secure it to take back around when you need info. There's a lot you can use the ult for. The dog is so consistently good at gathering information, even if it's pretty shootable and you don't always get the stun, but it's also very consistent and helping you win 1v1s, and that self-sufficient part of Skye is always great. The heal is fantastic for healing your team. That is also a great part of Skye. It's that fact that she has a good be selfish but help team consistency, right? That back and forth makes her a solid pick overall already. Then making those flashes rechargeable just brings her up a notch. I think she's consistently a good pick. So Skye for the W, reeling it back in, going from B to A tier. Next, we got Omen. Now, Omen, in my opinion, has always been a solid agent and always dominates my lists here, like always getting a good ranking, just because in a solo duo environment, a lot of times people don't want to play smokes, and if you gotta play smokes, he is a selfish smoker, not the same as another agent we're going to talk about, but still a selfish smoker with more creativity potential, which ups the fun part pretty substantially in my opinion, and a way to, I want to say like dominate, because not a duelist, but the fact you can play in a lot of different ways with the fake TPs or consistently blinding and TPing behind is a genuine thing, like Yoru. But unlike Yoru, he still has a lot of value because of the smokes. You know, his ult to take space pretty quickly or to reposition very quickly leaves not only a lot of outplay potential, but a lot of the ability to keep things fresh. Because one of the biggest things is, let's say you're one player who always plays in one spot. you know, you end up getting flushed out. People understand where you're playing. People understand your play style. And I think Omen has a nice kit that allows you to consistently play differently. And that does bring a lot of value. Being able to be unpredictable consistently is fantastic. Of course, I will say Omen does have some skill needed. You can mess up your DP. The smokes you shouldn't mess up, but technically a little less inconsistent than the iPad. But just don't panic smoke. Take your time a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, to make sure those smokes come down properly. You don't want to be leaving a gap. You can use those smokes pretty quickly, selfishly, which is fantastic. The flash to set up for your team or for yourself, TP, to take space for, you know, with your team is fantastic. The ult to quick rotate. I mean, I don't know. I like Omen. I think he's consistently good. I don't think he's really a bad pick overall, like in any situation. And I mean, I'm personally gonna need to get into Omen. I know that's another agent. I gotta expand my pool from Yoru only and like Skye, Omen. Kind of looking at them, you know. I'm kind of looking at them. Next up, we got Clove. This is gonna be interesting because a lot of people think Clove should be lower now because of the nerfs, and they did pick on Clove consistently for good reason. Clove was overwhelming for a long time. Like, Clove was just consistently way too strong and triumphed over everyone else. I do think the nerf where it makes the smoke 6 seconds very intentional, because it was a little too lenient that you could die and then still have such valuable smokes. Having it so it's just a quick smoke, you still can play around with it after death, leaves that part intact without being overwhelming and overpowered. And a lot of times it's those 1v1s or 1v2 clutches where the smokes are most impactful. You can't just smoke diffuse when your Clove is already dead, which I think is not a fun mechanic. And remember what I said earlier about fun mechanics or frustrating mechanics to play against, like Cypher always shooting you through smokes, etc. I think it's important they nerfed that. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's important they nerfed that smoke. But the fact you can still pick yourself up, get that boost, self-stim, smoke quick, come back to life with ult, still get some amount of smoke post-death. I think Clove is still very strong, a very good selfish pick while still playing for your team, similar to Omen. Just unlike Omen, you know, Omen has a lot more creativity, and I think Omen's more fun overall. But still, Clove is a great example of a fun, selfish smoke that can consistently find high value. You got the iPad screen, which in my opinion adds consistency. And I don't think I have to sell you on it. If you think the Clove nerfs shut her down, I would say it shut Clove down in the sense it shut Clove down from overwhelming S tier to A tier. I don't think shut Clove down to the point where they're just an average pick. I still think they're an above average pick. Next up, we got Killjoy. I also don't think I need to oversell Killjoy. Consistent util that is very unique to a single agent that consistently finds value. You know, hold your flank, hold post, hold whatever you want to hold. Like, Killjoy is strong, bro. I mean, the ult is still some of the best in the game. You can, like, especially with Fracture. Okay, again, not map specific, but Fracture back in rotation. Great setups for Killjoy. You can lock down, you can flush. I mean, still, the only thing about Killjoy is it's still way more about locking down. But locking down a post plant or locking down a site consistently for an entire game, which is what Killjoy can do, is always going to have high value. They haven't nerfed Killjoy, at least as of recent. If anything, they protected her with the whole Tejo nerfs to make sure that ult can't be deleted super easily. And with Cypher way down at the bottom out of the picture, they used to be back and forth depending on what type of defense you wanted. She's still consistently like pretty much the best defense agent you can pick up. Like, I don't gotta oversell it. I don't gotta oversell it because she's unique. You know, when I'm talking about Omen and Clove, I gotta go into details because, you know, they both got the smokes and whatever. But like, who else has got that turret? You know what I mean? Who else got the invisible molly? You're gonna insta pop with that turret and double up with that ult to even post more. And then you can also always watch your flank. Your alarm bot's invisible. It's more consistent, right? It's a lot more consistent than other trips. I don't know. Killjoy is a good one, and I think all of you know that. Last but not least, in the A tier, we actually go back to a duelist, so I just try to throw you off a little bit here, and we have Phoenix. I actually think Phoenix is incredibly strong. I'm definitely going to be adding him into my rotation alongside Jett. I think Phoenix is just beautifully in that middle where you can be creative with low flashes, high flashes, flash behind you, but simple enough where, you know, you can either molly to clear or molly to heal yourself without thinking too much. fantastic. Some lineups are still good, but not super needed. You can also make up lineups quick with the sound circle. Good, consistent, and can be a little creative. Then you got the wall, same idea. You can consistently use that wall. Of course, you can use it to heal, but you can consistently use that wall to block off sight, to make sure you are isolating fights. Then you got the double flash that refreshes, and seriously, you guys have seen the clips. You wall off to isolate, flash, kill one, go back towards your wall. If you even just touch it or flash through it, you get that heal as well, which will also stay as you go through it. That buff that allowed the wall to go through walls on the map made it more consistently capable of setting yourself up for isolated duels. And that's not to mention his ult, only 6 ult orbs for an entire ass life to sort of just run it down. I'm not saying it's super strong, by the way, because it doesn't actually have huge range and you do have to kind of run. But while the enemies are running away, that's called taking space, and it's only 6 ult orbs, and you get to take space, and if you get a pick, it's like just a bonus. Like, that's pretty strong, bro. That's pretty strong. Not to mention you get a 1v1 twice if you have that ult on a post-plant situation, and the wall also does damage, so I like Phoenix. I mean, me talking makes me want to make sure I learn Phoenix, because I know he's going to be consistently strong for a little while, and I don't think Riot's going to mess with him, because he doesn't come up in pro play, so he's safe for a little while, you know what I mean? He's safe. So, I don't know. Phoenix ends our A tier. He's not overwhelming because he's not super meta-defining, but he is stronger than a lot of other duelists, and, you know, you can pick him up. But let's get into the S tier, because the S tier, I think most of you will agree, but some of you will disagree. Let's go. So, it's weird seeing this guy at the top again, but I actually think Chamber is now S tier. I think he has been S tier, but people didn't always agree with me, though now people are agreeing with me, especially Immortals, because ever since the huge, change to Valorant, where quote-unquote gunplay was more prominent, and they really did nerf all the abilities, and there is less abilities than there were before. No matter how much we adapt and we still think there's a lot of abilities, it is substantially less than before, and that made way for someone like Chamber to be stronger, and he still is stronger. Like, Ops got stronger, which just Chamber's already stronger. He can double op with his ult, consistently op. Ops are just generally stronger. We're in a map rotation with Breeze, which we already know helps him out, even if it's not what's needed. He's got great eco rounds with the Pocket Guardian. Literally the only problem is you just gotta, I want to say you need to know how to aim, but like, the whole op crutch is reducing that one thing that Chamber had, where before when he was more B or A tier, especially more B tier with higher abilities, it's the fact that the opping and shooting and TPing away wasn't as strong, which allowed him to not become overtuned because it depended on your aim. Body shot Andy is not aim, like, it's not super aim crutch, bro. Like, a lot of us can body shot Andy, and you get to do it on an off angle where they're less expecting you, and you get that pick and you pop away. That is consistent value. Even just a single pick is consistent value. Not to mention, his strip can be placed in places where it cannot be ignored. Either it gets shot down and you know someone's on the flank, or it pops and you know someone's on the flank. 100%. And that ult still has that slow field. He still has TP to get into special spots pre-round. The fact you just get out for free. The fact you get out for free is always going to be strong. It's why Jett opping is strong, but he can do it consistently and more frequently with that ult. I genuinely think he's S tier. He's not as S tier as the next two. He almost got into A tier, but I think Chamber's strong, and I definitely think he's meta right now. That's my honest take. My honest take is he's 100% meta right now. The next two are going to be less decisive than Chamber. We can argue about Chamber down below. That's fine. It's good to have discussions and comments down below. Some can agree, disagree, map dependent, rank dependent, and that's fine. The tier list isn't set in stone. I'm just a wee old player that isn't like pro or radiant. So you can take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I still hope you learn or get a new perspective on things. But these next two are not up for debate. I'm sorry. I just said there's free speech, then took it away. I'm joking. But in my opinion, the next two are leaning now problematic, which is, first of all, Neon. It's funny, in a world where Neon genuinely was a problem, we got Clove and Yoru nerfs. Clove was a problem, and Yoru was in pro play a problem, but Neon is still overly dominant, not in just solo and duo, but across the board, across all ranks. And it is under the flag of not fun to play against. It's under the flag that Riot tries to hold dear, which is if it's something that's not enjoyable to fight or face, they change it. Yoru getting to flash out of ult and shotgun was something I had fun with because I was a Yoru main, but I am fully acknowledged to the fact that it is not fun to fight that. It does not feel like there's good counterplay, and shutting down a Neon dashing to try to head tapper is not fun. It's not fun counterplay. It's not fair counterplay. When Neon dashes and shotguns you consistently, it is not enjoyable. It is simply not enjoyable. Not to mention the whole moving with the laser, dashing with the laser, or just normal full gun rounds, being able to move so consistently and safely with the double wall, taking space, isolating angles, and that's without the stun. Even bind, a small map, you're talking if they don't want to fight lamps because you set yourself up to defend lamps, finally she's dashed into you a million times, she will stun, throw wall, isolate, and go around to the other side of sight very easily without you being able to counterplay because she's moving too fast for you to fight that wall up, to just swing it. She's moving too fast. She's moving faster than everyone else because that is her power play, and they should not remove that power play, but they need to fix the slide killing mechanic in a tactical shooter that is consistently frustrating. I'm sorry to Temet, I like Temet, we've collabed before, but like Temet's style of gameplay is not inherently, doesn't have a place in Valorant. It just doesn't make sense. No one has fun fighting it. No one at all. Like literally at all. That's my hot take. So if you want to abuse it while it's here and frustrate the entire enemy team and dominate rank, go ahead. I mean, it's there. Feel free. You know what I mean? It's in the game. So S tier for sure. S tier for sure. Last but not least, the final agent on this tier list is Waylay. I will say I had a lot of opinions on Neon, maybe too much, where some people are saying I'm going too far. And Neon is still a bigger issue, in my opinion. Waylay is just a product of the fact that like, of course, double dash and then being able to just find that space and then freely getting out doesn't have too much counterplay. You're not really getting a Waylay. Like when Jett dashes, there is counterplay because after that dash, Jett is now a normal agent. Both Waylay and Neon have, like, after that slide, they're still moving quick, or in Waylay's case, unlike Neon, if they are in a bad position, they'll just get out. Like, they'll just get out for free, but they still took that space. So that's very, very, very strong. Waylay's ult is very, very, very strong. And if you're playing your ult and slow with some dash lineups, which does take skill, I won't say it doesn't take skill, you can find consistent value in absolutely just killing people for free. Like, there's not much counterplay. It's a little less frustrating than Neon, but it's kind of in the same vein where the counterplay is really teetering on the edge because you don't always get that kill. They get a get out of jail free card while still finding the value. The get out of jail free card makes some amount of sense, like let's say with Chamber, but it's very defensive. Get out of jail free card after finding your value, right, which is the space taken or the info gathered, is what makes it not as fun to play against. But at least, unlike Neon, doesn't always mean you're dead, so there's that. Waylay is just overall very, very, very strong. She probably, in my opinion, leans over-tuned substantially, which is why I put her in S tier, but doesn't need as hard of a rethinking as Neon. Probably a couple number changes can do it for her, unlike Neon, which I don't really know what they're going to do, but they need to do something, like pretty much remove the slide shoot thing, in my opinion. So again, my opinion, my genuine opinion, you can disagree, but still, Waylay at the moment is strong, fits the meta, you get in, you dominate. It's fast pushing meta right now, and she fits it really, really, really well, in my opinion. So Waylay's up here, which, I mean, she was so weak for so long and then slowly scaled her way up. So it goes to show that things don't always happen overnight, and her being fixed might not happen overnight either. Let me know what you think about the tier list down below. I don't know exactly how structure or edit the video. I slowed it down a lot. I'm very tired. I'm pretty sure I'm getting sick. So there's less cutting and less fast talking. But for most of you guys, you're going to go to the couple agents you're interested in. You're going to probably skip here to the end. It does hurt retention. It can hurt the video for me, but I'm going to put up the total tier list here. It won't be animated or additive as the video goes on. Instead, I'll have text for the section you're in. I will try my best to do timestamps below, but I think YouTube will auto timestamp, and if a goat down below gives me timestamps, I will copy paste it into the description so it gets force put into the video immediately. Let me know what you guys think down below about the tier list. Let me know who you main, what agents you have strong feelings about, and the next agent tier list will probably be in a few months. Probably it could be like end of summer. You know what I mean? Quite a while from now, unless some crazy changes happen to Valorant. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.